Hi, and welcome to the Comics for the Rest of Us panel at Afro Comic Con virtual 2020 event. Thank you for joining us. I am Fabrice Topolsky, and I'm the publisher of FairSquare Comics and of an anthology called Noir is the New Black, which is Black noir stories from African American creators. The book has been successfully funded this past summer and will be published for Black History Month next year. Before we get to our panel, please consider donating to the Afro Comic Con / Moonshot Junior program that funds young girls of color to go through a 12-month program where they will learn tech skills, innovation, product development, and entrepreneurship. Please click the donation link at any moment, and any amount will help. More information will be on the Afro Comic Con website. Now on to our panel, and let me introduce our panelists today. We have Ann Stephen Harris, artist extraordinaire, very long career, and he's going to introduce himself in a few. We have MD Marie, writer extraordinaire.
Thank you.
From California. She's going to introduce herself in a few also. And we have TC Harris, crime and co-editor on Noir is the New Black, and also a journalist, blogger, IT person, overall awesome guy that I love to work with. And I spend a lot of time every day on the phone. Yes, like 2-3 hours talking to each other. And so here we go. We're going to talk about Noir is the New Black. We're going to talk about what Comics for the Rest of Us is, and let me give the mic to you guys first. Ladies first, MD.
Hi, MD Marie, writer of Vindication and Cinders of Angels and Saints of Winter Valley, and huge fan of everybody on this panel.
Yay. Steven.
29 to 30-year veteran in comics. I'm the artist of Michael Cray, co-creator of Aztec, creator of Ajala, and a bunch of other books I've written. Drew out there, and here in Brooklyn, just staying warm or in this chilly day, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm just TC. I mean, you hyped me up, Fabrice. I mean,
yeah,
no, I'm TC Harris. I run a podcast called the Retreon Project. I also have a website called the Retreon Gaming Alliance and the Retreon Media Alliance. Fabrice and we are working together to bring you guys, hopefully, the best Black noir anthology you've ever seen, along with the lovely MD Marie and, of course, and Stephen Harris. Now that we know each other and they know us,
yay!
Where do we go from here?
Well, I wanted to ask you first, like your secret origin. Like, how do you get into this industry? Because like we're all outsiders. I mean, you guys are all outsiders. I'm also an outsider because I come from another country. English is not my first language, and blah blah blah. So we're all outsiders. So how did you get in, Steven?
Well, I got into comics. I just moved to New York. I was in my third year of college, SVA. I was in Michael Davis's class. We had he had a class in Harlem called at the Children's Art Carnival, and he had a class of a bunch of Black and Latino students that met every Friday and Saturday to talk about comics. And our assignment was to create our own graphic novel. We'd do a page a week that we would write, draw, ink and color. So we have a fully painted book by the end of the session, which was like a 32-page graphic novel. And so that got me in the practice of drawing books. I mean, drawing comics, and also in that class I met Dennis Cowan, whom I later became his assistant for a couple of years, and that got me some hands-on experience in comics, doing backgrounds for him, learning the business more, and branching out on my own. And my first job was a book for a company in Long Island, New York, called Personality Comics. They did celebrities, actors, sports figures. I did a book on Ricky Henderson. I messed up my first job, but I messed up, but the job was done. That was the important thing. It was done. I was accountable and it was done on time, but I took on too much for the assignment. So I penciled and inked it, and it had to be done in 3.5 weeks. And that was what made way too much work to do in 3.5 weeks. But I did that, and Dennis was mad at me for a little bit because he got me the job, but they gave me another job, but then that led to a DC project and a Dark Horse project and so on and so forth.
Good. Wonderful. MD?
First, I want to say I miss you guys. I know I just talked to you a couple of days ago, but I really feel like everybody in the comic industry is my tribe. So it's so good to see your smiling faces and your beautiful faces today. So thank you for having me. To answer your question, I've always read comic books since I was really little. I guess probably since I could read, but and then our family trip, my mom used to take us to the comic book shop every Sunday after church. So we were avid comic book readers. But what got me into this industry as far as working is I started writing novels, and I would have reading parties at my house, and my friends were like, "These books are so interesting, but they need pictures. Like, this is a lot of words." So they were like, "This would be so dope if there was pictures and I could read less and see more." So I started going to comic book conventions, trying to figure out how to make the inroads into comics. And I started networking and meeting people and, taking my work with me. And, nobody wants to work with a newbie, especially when you have almost no money, if no money. So I took it upon myself to save up some money. And I created my own graphic novel with my friends who I was modeling at the time. So instead of finding an artist, I found a group of photographers, and they took the pictures for me. And so we photographed the story. And then I have a friend who's an amazing graphic artist, and he turned it into a comic book for me. And I distributed it. I sold it. I gave it away to anybody who would take it, just to, try and get people familiar with me. And then I just stalked the hell out of everyone until they remembered who I was. And that's how I got in.
That's cool.
That was a cool story.
DC?
Oh man, my secret origins.
Well, I know it, but now you can tell the world.
Yeah, I guess so. Like a noir story, my secret origin starts with crime. Crime that had me relocate to Baltimore, and I experienced playing a little close to the vest. I experienced some things that perhaps a 17-year-old should not have, which subsequently almost cost me my life, 25 to 50 years of my life at that.
Wow.
And facing insurmountable odds from the law and being uncertain of my future, I wandered for years, man. I mean, I've done every odd job you can imagine. And finally, I met somebody who encouraged me to strive for better. And where I had pretty much all but thrown away my life to violence and anger and loathing, they were very instrumental in bringing me back around and changing my overall outlook on life. And that was a very slow build to finally saying, it's okay to like these things, and I enjoy comics. I've always read comics. I've read comics since I was 3. I started reading when I was 3. First comic I ever bought with my own money.
At 4?
You were 4?
No, I started reading at 3. So I figured you had your own money at 4.
Yeah, well,
So
my
you're still
money.
advanced.
Yeah. No, it was Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Wow.
and I was that was my first. So from there to here, that person telling me, go ahead, go do these things. I started a blog, and I developed a team, and that team, we got contacts, and we started going to cons on a professional level, right? And it became professional once they gave us the press badge, right? Now you're legit. and you're walking around, you're meeting all kinds of people. And the story of my origin, how we got to this point, really is Baltimore Comic Con. There's an exit jam packed. I don't think I'm going to get out of there, and I'm tired. But I'm like, maybe I can squeak through those chairs on the opposite side, right? Like maybe I can squeeze through and get out. And there's this mad Frenchman just sitting there, like with this cheesy grin. And I'm like, hey,
Thank you for cheesy.
I'm like, hey, Spider-Man Noir, that's a cool story. And he's like, thank you. I'm like, but you, what would it? Oh, and then a conversation, and that conversation turned into more conversations, and now we're here. So I owe it all to the hard knocks and somebody course correcting me. That's my origin story. I don't take responsibility for the majority of anything that I've done. It's all with the help of friends and people that care about me.
Which leads me to the next topic, because you're basically talking about ownership of your own origin. So let's talk about ownership.
Okay.
Because like one of the things that was the main drive when I created FairSquare Comics last year was ownership. Because like and I know that MD, you've worked with Top Cow. Steven, you've worked with a gazillion number of publishers, and you've had like been in the studio system, and you've had independence, and you have anything. So we all have different experiences on ownership. And I know that for me, I mean, the worst thing that could happen to a comic book creator happened to me in a good way. My first published book was with Marvel Comics, and I got to create my own characters. But the problem is that what do you do after? When the phone stopped ringing and nobody cares about who you are. Nobody wants to see you. I had an editor at Marvel saying that I would never find another work there because my first language was not English. This kind of like nice things that you want to hear when you're a creator. And we all had our no's. I guess my own origin is like, never say no to me because I will stand up and do exactly the opposite. And never give up. So my question is like, how much of a drive ownership is of your own material, of your own ideas, and is this something that is very important to you at this point, not only as a comic book creator, but also as an individual, as a Black creator? What's your take on that?
Ladies first.
Ownership. I'm not really sure that it's that much of a drive for me as much as representation and making strong characters that people can either relate to, understand, or are interested in. But I've never really had a tight grip on ownership, only because I've taken a lot of writing classes and they tell you, like your stuff will get edited to death, and people will want to infuse their ideas into your story. So if I was to be possessive of my story, I would not change a single word. So my relationship with ownership is really loose. And I know sometimes you have to share credit. Like, I have co-creators, I have the artist, I have all these other people that I share the credit with. So if you're talking literally, ownership is not my main drive. My main drive is representation.
Okay. Steven?
Yeah, ownership. Yeah, it's important to me. I've been away from ownership for a little bit. I mean, I have my properties. I just have to get back to them. But right now, I'm in the middle. I'm doing a lot of work for hire. I'm in a couple of co-creator projects now. So I have a bunch of co-creator projects that are in the works. Of course, the one with Brandon. But for the most part, a lot of it has been work for hire at least last couple of years. And I had a book where I was co-creator with my partner, but he passed away unexpected. No, it wasn't. It was kind of unexpected. It was he was going through some issues, and it just got the best of him, and he passed away in 2019. So that was a hit on both on the creative.
Him naming that's Robert, right?
Yeah, Robert Garrett.
Robert
And
Garrett.
the book, in the book of Jala. So
yes, he was an outsider but a very prolific creator, right?
Yeah, he has his own line of books. One of the few people that has own line of books that he created every one of them, either created or co-created, and at least I can't even count now, maybe six plus books, including Ajala. So we created that together, and we were putting that out, and I have, like I said, I have another book called Brotherhood of the Fringe that's all mine, and there's a couple other things that in the works and that could possibly be done, but right now for the past couple of years it's been work for hire stuff I've been doing, because it was easier for me when I was just doing storyboards like for commercials, but now I'm back and doing comic books, and comic books is a very all-consuming field, at least for the artist, and it's hard to do two projects. Yeah, it's hard to do two projects unless they have very liberal deadlines. But yeah, so that's where I am right now. It's going to take a leap of faith for me to get back into my creator-owned project at this moment.
Do you guys feel that the landscape right now allows things to be done differently? I mean, certainly COVID put everything on the table, but and this is something that we're experiencing and we're learning as we go. A lot of creators have relied on Kickstarter. We certainly did for our books, but right now, like we counted, like TC and myself, we counted because we have another campaign on Kickstarter. There were in October 290 projects, comic book projects on Kickstarter. That's an insane number. Like imagine in 1 month 290 new comics. This is just graphic novels. This is just insane. And so how do you feel that if you feel that the landscape will allow you to express yourself creatively and commercially in the month or years to come, or we're just going to go back to the same old dance with the big publishers, independents, and a distribution system that is somewhere?
I don't think so. I don't think it's ever going to go back to the way that it was before. When February came around and the major publishers pretty much ground to a halt, and they were doing what to survive. They had a couple of like reprints. They had a couple of digital books, but that was basically it, and that was a slow trickle out. But you've seen like this resurgence of independent comics. I don't think it's ever going to go back, and I don't think it needs to go back. I mean, if you look outside of what we do, I mean, look at webtoons. There's the other one you were telling me about the other day. Thank you. I can never remember that one, but you have so many outlets now, and we've talked about it. Like MD and I, we talked about it on the podcast, and Stephen Harris. I hope you agree, and Fabrice, you definitely agreed.
Yeah,
comic books are the old campfire stories. Okay, this is what you did to entertain your friends and your family. I'm not going to talk about like other religious stories, like when you look at Scandinavian tales, right? The line between those tales and their belief system, they are, sorry Fabrice, intertwined. So we needed this in order to sustain beyond the work and the toil of hunting and foraging. So you trace that cord from that point to here. When you have agency over your own version of a campfire story, going back to you, MD Marie, you said representation is more important than, but at the end of the day, you wouldn't change any word. And that's great, because that is ownership. You've given birth to a story, characters, a setting, cities, vehicles, clothing, whole 9 yards. Up here, you've birthed a universe, and that's deep. And the fact that there is an outlet for any man, woman, and child on this planet to be able to do just that. The publishers cannot keep up with the imaginations of the American people, especially a reawakened imagination from people stuck at home because of a COVID. So no, I don't think we're ever going back to the way that things were.
With all due respect, not just with American people.
Well, come on. Yeah, I mean, the French people and the African people, everybody.
I don't think the resurgence came out of COVID. I think it was always there. And I think that's evidenced by the news stories that like are being aired on Netflix. Those were produced well before COVID was even a thought in anyone's head, with them taking like Umbrella Academy and other graphic novels and turning them into movies. I think the hunger for new material is finally coming to fruition, and I think that a lot of independent creators are finally getting a shot because people are tired of DC and Marvel telling the same old stories different ways, or just kind of like putting a new dress on it.
Yeah,
It's true.
I think to put the proverbial cat's out the bag because your cat's in the background, TC.
I know. I mean, I'm
But
getting
yeah,
double. I got the
yeah,
cat. I got the
yeah,
DC, and MD just
yeah.
peed on NDC.
But yeah, there's no going back. I mean, the publishers at first were the gatekeepers. Now there's no room for gatekeepers. I mean, there's no place for gatekeepers because we can, whether they're small publishers or individuals or small teams doing it on their own with social media, print on demand,
Crowdfunding.
crowdfunding,
Yeah.
and conventions. We go out to conventions and talk to the fans. We can cultivate our own fans and talk to them directly. And fans love talking to the artists and creators of the books. And that's where our sales come into, and just blowing up more and more. And then no publisher or gatekeeper can control that. They can't say they can't say, oh, I don't think this will sell. Oh, I don't think some person in Middle America, some white person in Middle America is ready for this. We can say, F that. We got our own market. We don't need a person in Middle America. We don't need a person in Middle America, a white person in Middle America, appraisal power. We have our own appraisal. We have our own community, our own values, our own your own values and whatnot, where we know what we want and we know what our people want. And with there's different groups. There's different groups within our people who want different things. So we can talk to that. We can speak to that.
Well,
I mean, there's so many stories, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, there's a wellspring, and that's why I said earlier, like every man, woman, and child, right? Like every kid growing up at a certain point is on a playground or in art class. You have to create, right, a story. Every kid at some point has done that in school, and a few of those kids have that passion and that thirst to continue on. MD Marie. So they're out there, and you're right. Gerald Way. I mean, we have the Umbrella Academy. Every Netflix, Hulu, all these places, they're looking for that next thing because of how starved people are. So it's really not only our time, but anyone listening to this, it's your time too, to take that idea that's up here and put it down and put it out there. Put yourself out there. Get it done.
Let me just play devil's advocate for a second.
No.
Okay. Well, this was amazing. Thank you, everyone, for having us.
All right.
I just wanted to see how much power was in that word. Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you. Well, I mean, you never say no to a Black woman. I know that. So let me play devil's advocate for a second. It's true that in terms of creation, we have now incredible opportunities. But look, DC Comics just launched a diversity event, just like Marvel did 3 or 4 years ago. And all of a sudden, when they call, all the diverse creators enter and go straight there and pause whatever they were doing. So there's still a talent magnet. There's still a force of attraction in the old world, in the old system. And if I may, the gatekeepers are still there. It's just not at the same spot. Right before, the gatekeepers were everywhere. Now the gatekeepers are the distributors, because it's not a question of creation. You all been with me in the trenches at conventions. Now the conventions are on hold, and we can't go to the place that we love, meeting fans, showing what we're doing, hard pitching, hard selling what we're doing in our independent stuff. But at the same time, right now, we have a challenge, and the challenge is the distribution. How do we put our creation and the next generation's creation in the hands of actual readers? And crowdfunding is an answer, but again, 290 projects in October, how long can we go on like this? And we have to answer that challenge, that problem, which is how do we distribute? How do we put it out there in a way that is satisfying, not just for us, but also for the reader? Because we're not writing or drawing for ourselves. We're doing that because we love it and we need to share it, right?
Well, I was just there's still crowdfunding people can do, and using if they're successful, get the when they do the mailing to people out, get it out there, or there's the digital market, put it out there on digital, and maybe after a while you can collect it and put it out again in the printed version.
Yeah.
Then so right now those ways I see. Right now I'm not in that hole right now, so maybe I should just let someone else speak on that.
Well, all I can do is tell two friends, and you tell two friends, and then you tell two friends, and so on and so on. I'm kidding. I don't know. That sounds like a technical problem that's way above my IQ. So if I come up with anything, I will definitely let you know.
Yeah.
No, I think he's absolutely correct. I mean, Fabrice, I mean, we've talked about this before. Now, full disclosure, there is nothing as special, and I waited to do this for you, Fabrice. There is nothing as special as opening up an envelope, and you feel that sheen in your hand, that the heft of these pages. By the way, one hit wonder, folks. One hit wonder. It's a great
Nice.
book.
My book.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
It's kind of thick there.
Oh, and so I know it's very girthy, and
That's funny. It was not thick. I didn't know about this.
A lot of words men like to hear. Thick.
right.
girthy.
I mean, you're right though, but no, this feeling in my hand is something that you cannot replicate digitally. However, even though I'm not a huge digital fan, and Stephen Harris is correct, if crowdfunding starts to take a toilet on the level that we need it to be successful, and it's not, well, cool. Digitally distribute your content, build up a catalog, build up a following. So maybe do a couple of give me's, right? And then compile them all together with your fan base already established, and then redistribute that in a compilation, because that's what the big guys do. But they give you your little floppies every week, bi-weekly, whatever, and then end of the year they roll that into a graphic trade, not a graphic trade, just a trade paperback. So maybe that's how we adapt to survive, because maybe that will take our costs down. But the ultimate answer to that is the little guys, right, that are scattered about. We need to come together.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Two heads facing each other. Really? No one? Conan? No one?
No,
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
I was actually thinking Hydra, but
Wow.
that's way more
Wow.
too.
Wow.
If you said Voltron, I
Crom
would-
cries. Crom laughs at you from his mountain. But no, that's what we need to do. We need to come together so that costs come down, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can get some sweetheart deals, on the distribution side, and that will help us all to survive. Because eventually, I'm sorry, with any market, right? Any emerging market, you're going to hit a point where it's going to stagnate. It's the ebbs and flows of business. But that should not be the determination for whether or not you take this idea that's up here and get it out there. Nothing should stand in your way if you have a dream. I believe that wholeheartedly now.
Yes.
So we'll work this out.
And you will always find somebody to trust you to put that out.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. I mean, we were all given a chance at one point. I mean, Stephen, you were talking about Michael Davis, MD, you were talking about your things too. I mean, and TC, I mean, I'm not going to repeat what he said. It would be embarrassing. But yes, for me, it was David Hein. And I was a journalist for 13 years. I was a comic book journalist for 13 years before I finally got an idea that had value and that no one wanted to hear about it, including David Hein, who said to me that it was the silliest thing that he ever heard. A Spider-Man in the 1930s, wait a minute, it will never work. Then he changed his mind and we did what we did. But the thing is, you have to be persistent. You have to never let go, never give up. Like a dream is bigger than us.
Yeah.
And I think that was and that's a perfect transition. That was the drive when we created FairSquare Comics, which was that we labeled comics for the rest of us, because we are the ones that nobody care about. And I worked at a publisher. I worked at many publishers in France, but in the US, I worked also at a publisher. In that publisher, I saw how they selected projects. The way projects are selected is just insane. I mean, I don't know how many rejections did you have, Stephen, before you got into the, because you said that you started with this little publisher in Long Island, but after that, was it like immediate? You never.
No, because I mean that was 19. My first job was 1991, and that it was like I was still working at Barnes and Noble, in New York City, and I didn't leave Barnes and Noble till 1993 when I was on staff at DC Comics as part of the new talent department for like 6 months, and then after that that same company changed into a company called Triumphant Comics, where they produced a title named Chromium Man. That was the artist on that, and I was on that book for maybe a year. Oops. I was on that book maybe a year, and then they went bankrupt and ended up owing me money.
Oh,
But I got paid a little bit, but they owed me a lot of money. But that was, and then it was rocky. It was rocky up until from 91 till it was off and on up till 95. 95, I was on a back with Michael Davis, and this time in the professional setting where he had left Milestone
Milestone.
and started and teamed up with Motown, Detroit Motown, and started an animation studio. He wanted to do animation. I think it was going to be called Motown Animation, and within that was a comic wing called Machine Works, Motown Machine Works, and I was working there for a year and doing a book called The Crush. And I was on that. I was doing the 5-issue limited series. I was doing work for them for a year with The Crush and other things, and that kept me busy for a year. And after that, I got with DC Comics, did a 10-page story with Black Lightning, and then I got on Aztec, co-created Aztec. I was on Aztec for a year, so I had a good 3-year run, and then again it crashed for me after Aztec. 97 was rough. 98 was half rough. But it's like up and down. So it was in the 2000, like I didn't really get on my feet comfortably until 2005. That wasn't even in comics. I was doing storyboards for commercials. And so it's been up and down. I mean, it was just rough a couple of years ago when I left after Michael Cray ended. I was supposed to do another job after Michael Cray, and then
By the way, I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely loved it.
And I was supposed to have a job after that, and then the person flaked, and then and that was the worst time of year to happen because like around late October, early November is when it's hard to get work because books close up, the financial books close, and it's the holidays, and so I was like floundering for a while, and then I got back on my feet in early 2019. A woman named Maya Crown Williams got me a teaching, not a fellowship, not a fellowship, but I forgot the word I'm looking for, but it was I teach for a couple of days, and that got me back on track, and then I found that also brought me to a brother named Rye Allen, who I'm doing a book now. I'm doing a book now for him called Indigo Clan, and between those two things got me back on track. But it's an ebb and flow. It's like a couple years on, a few months off, a couple years off, so it could be, it's like I said, it's off and on.
Wow.
I got to ask a question to you about that. You see a lot of superstar talent out there, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're hot dogging it around the cons, right?
Yeah.
What separates them from us?
Maybe they're known. They have sometimes it's you'd be surprised who's struggling out there sometimes. Sometimes because they're known, they could probably get by on doing pinups, commissions for people because they're known and they put themselves out there. So you see creators out there on Facebook promoting or there are on Facebook, Instagram, or what's the other one? Their pages, their when you pay a couple dollars to be part of the page. What's that?
ArtStation, Comic Art
No,
pages.
okay, ArtStation, but like Patreon. There's a Patreon pages. Thank you, Hallie. Patreon pages. So people have to find ways to hustle, make it work.
Sounds very cutthroat.
And yes, Hallie says maybe Etsy too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question because it's something that happened at another convention that I was doing this weekend, Diversity Con. Shout out to Ramon Gill for getting that other event. I mean, it's nice, by the way, that there are like so many cons that come out now that are not just the regular old school cons, and places like Comic Con here, Diversity Con up there are like a lot of avenues where we can talk about our projects and highlight creators that are not necessarily invited everywhere else. So it's great. But I want to ask you something. Do you have the impression that when you're doing something new or that you're promoting something, you have a community behind you?
Yeah, I think I do. It's just still tricky because people. I mean, my notoriety may not be some notoriety of a person who's worked regularly at DC Comics or Marvel, but I mean, I have somewhat of notoriety, and I guess that has been get me by these last couple of years. And people are getting either people who know me recommend me for jobs, or maybe someone who wants me to do a job for them. But that's I mean, it's like you can't be in it to win it. So I'm in it now, and hopefully the years that I've been in this game pay off as far as people knowing me and knowing what I can do.
MD?
Yeah, I definitely believe that I have a community behind me. You guys are part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a lot of support, and I'm very, very blessed to know the people that I know. I could sit here for probably the next hour and just, spit out names of everybody who's been so helpful and has mentored me and has read my stories and has supported me and has promoted me. So, yes, I definitely think I have a supportive community behind me.
Yeah, when you say community, I'm thinking fans, but community definitely. I would definitely a big community support. Whether it's people coming, whether it's friends, family, even fans too that that know me, and either if they can support me, definitely supporting me emotionally.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great transition to talk about Noir's the New Black.
All right.
DC, if you want to pitch and talk about the book, I'd like you to tell everybody out there how this book came about.
Well, it's not funny.
What's Noir's the New Black?
Okay. All right. First of all, it's not really a funny story. It was born out of frustration. I mean, we've all seen the news over the past year, and Fabrice and I have been talking, much more these days than we did before. But we've consistently talked since the weekend before my lung surgery 2 years ago. Yeah. So he messaged me, and he was upset because we were talking about a project before we got to this project, and there it is on the news, another man dead, right? And Fabrice is clearly mad, as we all are, as we all were, as we all should be. And he wanted to do something, right? Like so many other people, he wanted to do something. And I suggested that he use what he knows to affect change, which media's a beautiful place, because look at Gene Roddenberry and his message that he was able to push onto the airwaves low key, right? So I wasn't thinking that at the time. I was just thinking maybe he could draw something, maybe he could write a little quick something, then here I am, just hanging out, looking at the news, fuming. And here he comes again, and he's like, let's make a book. I'm like, yeah, okay. No, really, let's make a book. You want to make a book? Yeah, an anthology. Black noir. I'm like, all right, sure, Fabrice. Okay, let's do that.
I think, can I interject real quick? Because I want to just say that Fabrice was way more excited than that when he called me about it. He was like, I'm going to make a book. And I could see like the fireworks, and I can see all the passion, and I heard all of the zeal in it. And you're really playing him down like, like he's cool.
No,
like
I'm not
ice.
playing him down, because he came to you like that, right? He was like, but when he came to me, he's like, he's French suave now. We're going to make a book.
Yeah,
well,
it's going to be black noir.
When I told the protesters were outside my window in LA. They were like military grade vehicles patrolling in the streets of LA while there were protesters, and I was going crazy because I was staying inside. Like, people don't realize that, but when you're an immigrant and you're a legal resident in this country, you pay attention to everything you do, because you can't be deported. No matter how legal you are, you still can be deported if you put something online. They monitor everything. So if you put something online, how do you resist? Clearly I'm not a citizen, so I can be kicked out any day if I defy the power. If I fight the power, if I may. And so we had to be smart. And I was talking to TC, and like, how do we create something that has value and has an impact on people and shows change? I remember that 3 years ago, when I came to LA, I was hired by this company called Humanoids that I'm no longer working with. And at the time, I was promoting a new label called H1. And the first person that I went to was Kwanzaa Zajefio, who's the guy who created a series called Black. And I drove all the way to San Diego, where he had a meeting, just to meet him for 1 hour. And actually became 2 hours, because we had such a great connection that we became friends. And he was like, don't talk about the change, be the change. And he was so right. And that was a huge inspiration for everything that I've been doing and that we've been doing through this book and everything. And it all started with this discussion with Kwanzaa. I was like, if you want to talk about change, be the change and inspire. And no matter who you are. And TC will tell you, at first, I didn't want to put my name in the book because I thought that it would be an appropriation. And everyone is afraid of that. Like, I may be a minority, I may be an immigrant, but I'm still non-Black, and that was all a big deal. Like,
I basically told you, I said bump that. I'm like, no, you need to. No, I told him, like, day one, I'm like, you need to put your name in the book. Not only that, why don't you contribute? And he has been adamant that the answer is no. He's like, I'm putting you up at the front of this. I want you to reach out to some people. I want you to take lead. I got your back. And he said, it'll be a learning experience. I'm like, all right, cool. So here we are.
Who convinced me? It was actually Sean Martinbrew.
Really?
Yeah, Sean Martinbrew. He called me up. I mean, I was trying to get him to do something for the book. He actually may do something in the book, but right now he's very, very busy. But Sean and I, we've known each other for a while, and he worked with me at Humanoids, and we did stuff together. And I'm glad I can call him friend, because he said this to me. He said, when I hear you not wanting to put your name in the book, I want to strangle you. I said, wait a minute, you want to strangle me? For real? He said, yes, I want to strangle you. I want to slap you in the face, and I want to remind you who you are. You are a professional. You've been in this business for 20 years. I know you. And let's face it. You're not like them. You're ethnic enough for us. And I was like, wow. I just got my ass handed out by Sean Martin.
I was like, who is this guy? My mom?
Well, he can be my mom, my dad, my brother, he can be everything because this guy opened my eyes. And like the first person that I called after was TC, and I said to him like, look, I was just like slapped in the face by Sean.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yes, and this TC said to me, wait, I've been saying that to you forever, so stop accusing yourself. So the fact that the book is what it is a combination of factors, and it's the fact that yes, we were very angry, but we're trying to convert that anger into creation, which is what every creator does, right? And there's also this fact that the coming out or getting out of your condition is part of the DNA of our industry. The founders of the comic book industry were poor. They were not super educated. They had no way of going. They were in a ghetto. Most of them were already in the Bronx. For people who grew up in the Bronx and went to the school where Stan Lee went, where Will Eisner went, these are like places that, you know, you're always someone's poor, but like they were really poor when they started this industry, and they couldn't foresee that it would become this multi-billion-dollar industry that it is now, that is owned by big corporations. So I mean, let's give it back to the little man. Let's make as many anthologies as we can, and let's be angry to create, right?
And I think that I kind of think that takes us into a cool spot. I mean, we got Norris and New Black, right? And I've been doing, been doing one of these, you know, for the whole show. But
this is not a panel about me, TC. This is a
I
panel
know. But no, I mean, what do we do next? Like, how do we follow this up?
Well, we talk about their stories. Like MD, I would like you to tell us about Nehru. Let's give us a scoop there about Nehru, and why did you want to tell that story?
We wanted to tell well, it was kind of like a combination of the story that Don, the artist, wanted to tell, and a story that I had written.
Don Walker, yes.
Yes. Don wanted to tell a story about a female cyborg, and I wanted to tell, I already had a science fiction story that I had been working on about this woman who went through this regeneration experimentation, and basically was murdered by the scientists who headed up the experiment. And our twist is that the Nehru believes that she's been murdered, and everyone keeps trying to convince her that she was not. And so she is investigating her own murder, basically, and coming to the realization of how she became who she currently is now, which is a cyborg assassin for the Pentagon. So that's how we got to that story. So it was kind of a combination of, you know, the story of a female cyborg that was a destroyer of worlds, and another character that was a part of an experiment that was kind of trying to figure out her own murder, or trying to put her life together after her murder. So that's how we kind of came up with Nehru. And everybody believes I'm an angry Black woman anyway, because it's true. So
hey, that's okay. I'm not mad at that.
You know, I am not a stereotype. It is true. So I kind of infused some of that in there, and then, you know, talking to Fabrice and to TC, they were like, "Yeah, you could go harder," and I was like, "Really, I can?" Because, you know, it's real dark in here. I don't know, you guys. You want me to go to that back door? But
be your authentic self. Be your authentic self.
And so I'm looking for the key right now, and you guys might be scared of what you see, but that's Nehru. Bring it. Okay. I know you said more death, so I'm gonna have to, give that to you.
Intestines.
One of the points in making the book is having the vision of our creators, and there are like 16 approved stories right now. That is as much unfiltered as possible. And yes, of course, it's edited. That means that TC and myself, we're still going to drive those stories, and that's what we're doing, because like we also want to make sure that there's no overlap, because we had pitches that were exactly the same, and we had to ask creators to revisit those pitches because those stories were too close to each other. And and we learned a ton. We learned a ton about the creation process. We learned a ton about the stories that Black creators don't want to tell at this point in their life.
Can I ask, what would like something like that be?
DC?
Like, what kind of story don't Black people want to tell right now?
Oh man, that's a good question, MD. You know, I'm
Because I thought we were talking
finding.
about everything, but
I mean, we are. So what I'm finding is, and Fabrice and I, and we'll let the world in on this. Fabrice and I will have a conversation at least once or twice a week when we're looking over pitches, and we're like, where are the college type stories? Where are the sports stories? Like, where are like the neighborhood type stories? You know, like everything's in space. You know, everything's futuristic. That dude's he's got a Gundam. That dude's got a gun arm. You know, this one's got a rocket pack. Listen, when I think noir, right, I think more grounded stories. And you know, like give me a higher learning, right? Something like that. We're not getting that, and it looks like a lot of Black creators are not necessarily afraid, but maybe due to the climate, they're reluctant to hit too close to home, too close to the familiar.
Yeah.
But when we conceptualized what we wanted from Noir is the New Black, we told y'all it's your story. Whatever, right?
yeah,
But up here we were like, we're gonna get these, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be grounded and gritty, and it's anywhere but that's not a bad thing because that goes to explore the fact that noir can literally fit anywhere.
yeah,
As long as you stick to the fundamentals of noir, and you can nail the implementation of your plot. Like it's all about that. So
we don't have mob stories.
No,
which is funny for a noir book. It's a Black.
But we have,
it's funny.
But we have cocaine. We have plenty of cocaine.
Oh, as long as you got cocaine. No, I think it's funny that you say that, but you know, the kind of stories that you say you're looking for have been done so much that I think that a lot of artists and writers are looking for places that people of color are not frequently seen, like space, like the future.
We've seen a lot of back in the day stories. We've seen a lot of now stories, neighborhood stories. We've seen a lot of, back in the day, like 1950s, 1920s. We've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of slave stories.
Yeah.
People want to move forward. I'm of the mind, move forward, but don't forget the past.
Yeah.
Have the past ever present. Learn from the past. I don't want to move forward without forgetting the past. But a lot of people want to move forward, and I hope I'm hoping they don't want to forget the past. But I'm of the mindset. I want to see. I'm a sci-fi person. I'm a sci. I mean, not sci. I'm a space opera person. Ever since I saw Star Wars and the anime Star Blazers or space battleship Yamato, I'm about spaceships, fighter planes, and giant robots. I love that stuff, right? And I like martial arts and action adventure too. But I want to see us on that stuff. My mantra is seeing Black people doing cool stuff.
Right.
So I mean,
Steven, we could have.
But I want to incorporate history in my stuff too.
Yeah.
I want to incorporate stuff like Black Panther type stuff, revolutionary type stuff in my stories. Stuff like that. Whether it's here or in the continent, I want to influence that. I mean, I want to have that as an influence in my stories of a rebellion or revolution in my story as well.
Yeah.
It can be. I don't want necessarily the same episode of The Wire or The Corner that I saw, 10 years ago. But when we're talking about space, right? I want to acknowledge where we came from and explore where we could go.
Yeah.
But to keep it down and gritty, I was expecting a story that would show that, as you know, as many things change, the more some things unfortunately stay the same, but in a different setting.
I'm seeing we have,
And that's not really what we got.
Yeah, it's hard to do that in,
I'm seeing we have 5%.
without telling the same story.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, and at the same time, Stephen, I wanted to add that we didn't get any martial arts. We didn't get any black samurai story. We didn't get any of that. And it would have been very noir. When we started talking about the book, actually, TC and I made a conscious decision to expand noir. Because, like, when we were doing the campaign, it was relying on the tropes, on the classic tropes of what a noir story is, with a gumshoe, with a femme fatale, and look, this even better. You of all people, you're the only one that we commissioned before the book was even started, and we had any story to create a pinup. The pinup that you did that helped a lot promote the story, and that will be printed as one of the perks. But clearly, we didn't have those kind of stories. But we decided consciously with TC to expand and say, okay, noir is not a question of era. Noir can be future, noir can be past, noir can be present. And then it was very liberating for a lot of writers because they understood that they could go anywhere as long as they respected 2 or 3 rules, which were there has to be an investigation of any sort, there has to be a dark mood overall, and there has to be somewhat of a pessimistic environment. So it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got to wrap this thing up, don't we, guys?
Already. I'm so glad we had this time together.
Yeah.
Same here. I mean, stick around. I mean, onward and upward. I mean, MD Marie and Stephen Harris, I know you guys are going to be rocking and rolling for many years to come. But to let the world know, me and Fabrice, we're not done. We're not done.
That's good.
We're just starting.
Good to hear.
Well, you just got started, so I hope you're not done.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, but like we have actually plans to expand beyond Noirs in Black as a graphic novel. We want to create a whole imprint where African American and even Black creators of the world can come and just tell their story the same possible way in a longer form. So we're working on that. Some people are already talking to us and wanting to, but we really want to expand because I think that there's always going to be the need for different voices and different ways of telling the story outside of the marketing normative.
Now, Fabrice, give the ladies and gentlemen at home and the kids a way to contact us in case they have an idea.
So to contact us is very easy. We're at FairSquareComics.com and on the social networks on Instagram and Facebook at FairSquare Comics. I want also our 2 wonderful talents today to tell us where we can find them.
Okay. Go ahead, Marie, MD.
No, go ahead. You can go first. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm a feminist. Ladies don't always have to be first.
Okay. You can hit me on Instagram at Stephen Harris on IG, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook, the same name, or my website is nstephenworks.com. Currently, I'm working on a project called Indigo Clan, which you can find at indigoclan.com, created by Rael Nagasta, and he'll be at Afro Comic Con as well.
Nice. I'm MD Marie Stories on Instagram. I have the Stories of MD Marie on Facebook, and you can hit me up in either spot.
Yay.
Are you on mute?
Yeah, you're on mute.
Whoopsie. If you want to talk video games, comic books, sci-fi, anything like that, beyond comics, you can reach me at tc@retrionmedia.com. You can also check me out at the Retrion Media Alliance. That's my website, so retrionmediaalliance.com. We are also on social media, Instagram, Twitter. We're around. But primarily, if you want to talk comics, if you have an idea, and this is your year, if you have had an idea, get it out of here. Get it down on paper or your computer, but definitely. Or are you over there, Fabrice? There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's over there. There, in frame.
There's a
He's right
Give him a
there.
shot. Right.
There's a submission page mainly for artists, but writers can also apply on FairSquareComics.com. We're not a big publisher, so we're not going to be able to publish everybody, but because we're curating also, and we're going to try to do as much as we can next year and the years to come. We already have like 17 projects in motion, so that's a lot. And before we end, I would like to thank Norman and Hallie, and I want to say also that you need to consider donating absolutely to Afro Comic Con Moonshot Junior Program that funds young girls of color to go through a 12-month program where they will learn tech skills, innovation, product development, and entrepreneurship. Please click the donation link. Any amount will help. Thank you very much. And we hope that we can count you in for the future of our wonderful guest and the future of FairSquare Comics. Thank you very much.
Awesome.